Dalyan, a small town in the southwest of Turkey, in the Ortaköy district of Mughla. But calling Dalyan a small town does not do justice to this land. Because Dalyan is a story written by water. This is the delta where the ancient civilization of Kaunos once breathed, where the reeds whisper in the wind, and where the Kareta turtles lead their lives in the sand. When you first step into Dalyan, what you notice is not silence, it is the breath of nature. It feels as if the entire delta wakes before the people do. As the first light of dawn touches Coexistence Lake, the reeds begin to tremble softly. Birds continue to migrate along the same routes they've followed for thousands of years. And that famous waterway cutting through the delta, the Dalyan Channel, a 14-kilometer corridor of life connecting the lake to the sea, lies still like a mirror of those early hours. As the sun rises, the scenery changes. The lake begins to speak with the sea. Freshwater and saltwater dance together in the delta, and nowhere in the world is this dance performed with such elegance. They have stood there for thousands of years, silent, yet even their silence tells a story. One of the most impressive burial architectures of the Lycian civilization rises here. Carved into the slopes of the mountain, these tombs were once the gateways to eternity for the kings. Today, they are the symbol of Dalyan. The columns carved into the rock, the pediments, the reliefs. All of them reflect how deeply the people of Kaunos believed in life after death. But the most striking thing is not their structure, it's what you feel while looking at them, as if you are touching the shadow of the ancient world. Kaunos was not only famous for its tombs, but also for its harbor. The flat land you see today covered in reeds was once filled with seawater. Trade ships arriving at the port of Kaunos would unload their cargo here, olive oil, wine, and salt. But time carried soil from the mountains, the sea slowly retreated, the city drifted inland, and the harbor became a memory. When you climb to the ancient theater of Kaunos and look out over the vast plain below, you realize that the sea once filled this space. Knowing this teaches you a quiet but powerful lesson of history. Nature's plan is always greater than man's plan. What makes Dalyan truly Dalyan is the reed beds. The channels within the delta sometimes turn into a natural labyrinth. The boat turns right, then left. The reeds suddenly rise and close behind you. As the wind moves through them, a thin hissing sound emerges. This sound is what the locals describe as Dalyan is breathing. The reed beds are not just a landscape, they filter fresh water, they serve as spawning grounds for fish, they are resting places for migratory birds, and they are shelter for countless wildlife species. Among the species living here are blue crab, sea bass, mullet, eelfish, grey herons, flamingos, pelicans. The delta is like a natural laboratory. Everything functions in perfect ecological balance. Everyone who comes to Dalyan does one thing first, the boat tour. Because the true soul of Dalyan is felt on the water. Boats begin to move slowly in the morning, and the captain always says two simple words, the wind is with us. And with the sound of the water, the journey begins. After passing through the channels and gliding beneath the shadows of the rock tombs, the boat reaches the famous passage that opens toward the sea, a narrow path hidden between towering reeds. This is one of the most unique natural corridors in the world. As the boat moves forward, the color of the water begins to change, shifting from the soft green of fresh water to the deeper blue of the Mediterranean's salty embrace. And finally, the Mediterranean appears before you. But you cannot step onto the beach immediately, because the boats arriving at the beach dock only at the pier on the lagoon side. The front side, the open sea side, belongs to the Kareta turtles. It is their nesting area, and access is strictly forbidden. Istizu Beach, one of the most extraordinary stretches of sand in the world. A rare shoreline protected under UNESCO conservation standards. This thin golden ribbon, extending for 4.5 kilometers, holds the Mediterranean Sea on one side and the calm waters of Dalyan Lake on the other. Because of this unique double-sided structure, it is known globally as one of the few beaches with a lake behind it. The sand here is special, fine, soft, heat-balancing, and perfect for Kareta nesting. It is also one of the safest beaches for families. The sea deepens very slowly. But there is something even more important about this beach. It is a nesting ground for the Kareta sea turtles. For this reason, strict rules protect the shoreline. No entry at night. No lights, no loud noise, no vehicles, umbrellas and sunbeds only in designated areas. Every nest is marked and monitored. These rules do not exist to restrict people, they exist to protect nature's ancient right to survive. The most visible sanctuary for the people who protect Istizu Beach is DEKAMER, the Sea Turtle Research, Rescue and Rehabilitation Center. Since 2009, injured turtles have been brought here, treated, strengthened, and finally returned to freedom. This small center is, in fact, one of the most important sea turtle hospitals in the entire Mediterranean. Most of the caretta-carettas that arrive here are injured because of boat propeller strikes, swallowing fishing hooks, ingesting plastic, jaw fractures, rope or net entanglements, cold shock. Their treatments take days, weeks, sometimes even months. And every turtle has a name: Fistic, Kumsal, Mavi, Teos, Orphos. Each one carries a story that may break your heart, yet fills you with hope. When a turtle fully recovers, it is released back into the sea in a special ceremony on the beach. There are crowds, yes, but everyone remains silent. Only the sound of the waves is heard. As the turtle glides into the depths, a saying often whispered by the people of Dalyan comes to mind: those born here, return here. Science explains this with magnetic navigation instincts. But the people of Dalyan explain it more simply: nature never forgets. Everyone in Dalyan knows her by the same name, Captain June. But her story begins far from Dalyan. Born in England in 1910, June Heimoff was, in her youth, as courageous as a sailor and as curious as a natural scientist. She spent much of her life along the ocean shores, as if she were in constant conversation with the sea. During her summer holidays, she would sail into the Mediterranean and travel alone for days. And one day, in 1975, guided almost as if she were following the direction of the wind, she took a small boat and set out toward the coast of Turkey. That journey would lead her to the greatest purpose of her life, Istizu Beach. As she arrived in Dalyan that day and saw the waterway winding through the reeds, the rock tomb standing in silence, and the calm breath of the delta, she said, "This is the home of my heart." When June stepped onto Istizu for the first time, she noticed how soft the sand felt beneath her feet. But she also saw something far more important: there were marks in the sand. Circular nests, small pits, and tiny lines stretching down toward the shoreline. They were the tracks of a sea turtle. June later wrote in her memoirs, "My heart raced when I saw those tracks." This was not an ordinary beach. This was a maternity ward. In 1975, no one in Dalyan knew about the turtle nests. No one protected them. For June, this was unthinkable. In the 1980s, the government planned to build a massive tourist complex on the inland side of Istizu. A hotel for thousands of people, hundreds of bungalows, roads, night lights, a disco, air pollution, noise pollution. And do you know what light means on such a beach? It means that turtles lose their sense of direction. They mistake artificial lights for the moon and crawl toward the town instead of the sea, most dying before ever touching the water. The moment June learned this, she began the greatest fight of her life. June wrote letters to England, to newspapers, magazines, biologists, activists. She wrote, "A small beach is asking for help." At first, no one believed her. Many who heard that an English woman was fighting a hotel project in a small Turkish town thought it was a romantic adventure. But June did not give up, because she had seen the mothers coming ashore at night to lay their eggs. And she had made them a promise: "I will protect you." Soon, more people heard her voice: international environmental organizations, the world press, universities, the British Parliament, German biologists, Turkish volunteers, all agreed that Istizu needed to be protected. And in 1988, a decision was made that would enter environmental history. Istizu Beach was officially placed under protection. The hotel project was completely cancelled. Not only the turtles, but the destiny of Dalyan had changed forever. After her struggle, June built herself a small hut on the beach, the humble wooden structure now known as Captain June's hut. This hut is not a museum. It is a house of memories. Inside, you find June's typewriter, old photographs, recovery records of turtles, newspaper clippings, letters she wrote, documents from her conservation campaigns, thank you letters from world leaders. When you open the door, the scent of the sea drifts inside. It feels as if June is still sitting there. June passed away in 2022. But before she died, she left one final message: Istizu does not belong to me. The true owner of Istizu is nature. We are only its guardians. Today, every child in Dalyan knows what it means to protect the turtles. This awareness is the most beautiful legacy June left behind. The hatching process of the caretta-caretta turtles is extremely delicate. For this reason, Istizu is one of the most strictly protected beaches in the world. The beach is closed between 2000 and 8 o'clock. No lights are allowed, no loud noise, no vehicles, sunbeds and umbrellas only in designated areas. Every nest is marked. No towels, umbrellas, or sunbeds may be placed on top of any nest. These rules protect a cycle that has continued for millions of years. On July nights, the sand begins to move. Tiny hatchlings break through the surface. A hatchling's chance of survival, 1 in 1,000. But those who manage to reach the sea will return to this same beach. 25 to 30 years later, this cycle transforms Istizu from being just a beach into a sacred maternity ward of nature. Dalyan is no longer just a holiday destination, it is a world heritage. Ancient Kaunos, the rock tombs, Lake Coexistence, the reed bed labyrinth, the blue crab, Isuzu Beach, the sea turtle hospital, Captain June's struggle. When all of these come together, they tell a single story. A place that respects nature will live for thousands of years. And Dalyan is the most beautiful proof of this. Everyone who comes to Dalyan asks the same question: what does a day here feel like? And the answer is clear: time flows according to the water. Mornings begin by the lakeside, with the sound of birds. As the sun slowly rises and filters through the reeds, the delta water shines like a golden ribbon. This is how a day in Dalyan begins: silence, a gentle breeze, the soft flutter of wings, and the tender rhythm of water touching the shore. Every minute looks like a frame from a nature documentary. Clapperboard Chapter 18, Dalyan Boat Tour, the magic of the channels. The moment you step onto the boat in the morning, the water invites you into its own story. The captain starts the engine softly. The water ripples gently, and the boat begins weaving through the curves of the canal. The reed walls rise so high that the boat feels as if it's moving through a living labyrinth. There is no landscape quite like this anywhere else in the world. This route has 3 iconic stops. 1. The rock tombs, king tombs. When the boat comes to a stop right across from the tombs, the captain turns off the engine. A deep silence settles. Only the soft tapping of water against the boat is heard. These tombs have stood there for thousands of years, the eternal resting places of Kaunos kings. 2. The reed bed labyrinth, a scene straight out of a film. In fact, scenes from the James Bond movie Tomorrow Never Dies were filmed right here. 3. Isuzu Beach Pier. Boats never approach the open sea side of the beach. They dock at the lagoon side pier behind the dunes. This is one of Dalyan's unique protection practices. No one is allowed to enter the nesting side of the beach where carrettas lay their eggs. Isuzu Beach is not just a stretch of sand. It is a miracle of nature. A 4.5-kilometer ribbon of golden sand, the sea on one side, freshwater on the other. Divers know this well. It is incredibly rare to see such different ecosystems existing side by side. But the most extraordinary thing about Isuzu is that thousands of loggerhead turtles return here every year to nest. When the carrettas come ashore to lay their eggs, they slowly rise out of the sea, crawl up the sand, dig their nests, take a deep breath, and release their eggs. Throughout the night, one of the oldest rituals in nature continues. And Isuzu is one of the few places on Earth where this ancient ceremony still unfolds. In Dalyan, both the water below and the water above are sources of healing. Sultanier hot springs have been used since the Roman era as a natural spa. The thermal water is around 40 degrees Celsius and is rich in magnesium, sulfur, calcium, radon. It is known to soothe the skin, relieve rheumatic pain, and stimulate blood circulation. And then there is Dalyan's famous mud bath. The grey mask that tourists cover their faces with, the one that cracks as it dries, is actually a natural, mineral-rich clay. According to a local legend, a mud bath makes you look 10 years younger. It may not be scientifically proven, but the smiling faces suggest there might be some truth to it. Every story told in Dalyan begins with water. Locals say, when the full moon reflects on Lake Coexistence, if you whisper a wish into the water, your wish is written into the memory of the lake, and one day, it will come true. Cyclone 1. Legend, the Moonlight Wish. They say that when the full moon falls onto the surface of Lake Coexistence, if you gaze into the water and whisper a wish, that wish becomes part of the water's memory and eventually finds its way into reality. Cyclone 2. Legend, the Prince of Kaunos. It is said that the spirit of Kaunos, who lies in the rock tombs, can sometimes be seen as a faint silhouette hovering over the lake on misty mornings. Cyclone 3. Legend, the Whisper of the Reeds. When the wind moves through the reed beds, locals say the sound you hear is, Dalyan is breathing. Dalyan's cuisine blends the simplicity of the Mediterranean with the freshness of the Aegean. Its most iconic flavors include grilled or sauced blue crab, rock samphire salad, stuffed zucchini flowers, Dalyan meatballs, steamed sea bass, pomegranate jam, lemon blossom soda, and above all, the blue crab. It is the symbol of this region. The fact that blue crabs thrive in Dalyan's channels is a sign of how healthy the ecosystem truly is. Nights in Dalyan are not loud like Bodrum, but they have a soul of their own. At night, Dalyan lives through soft lights reflecting on the river, gentle background music, small jazz bars, street performers, quiet terraces, and a sky full of stars. When you look up from here, you can even see the Milky Way. The lights are kept low. Why? So that the newborn turtles do not mistake the town's glow for moonlight and walk toward the streets instead of the sea. Dalyan, a story written by water. A silent witness to a civilization thousands of years old. One of those rare places where nature and humanity can live side by side, in harmony. Here, time flows differently. The reeds speak with the wind, the lake hides the moonlight, and turtles leave life in the sand. While the tombs of Kaunos whisper the past, Istuzu protects the future. Now, as we leave Dalyan behind, we don't just leave a holiday memory, we leave a promise: whoever protects nature, protects the future. Dalyan is one of the most special places that reminds us of this truth. And remember, when you return to these waters one day, you may recall. The sound the wind makes as it moves through the reeds is the breath of the delta. As we created this documentary, our purpose was not only to show the beauty of Dalyan, but also to draw attention to this natural wonder. If this journey has inspired you, if the story of Dalyan has touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. Because the more you watch, the more nature stories we will be able to tell. And perhaps together, we will have the chance to protect even more places. Thank you for watching. See you on the next exploration. Nature never forgets.